this is going to be trade recaps for today. We took one trade only, and I kind of want to go over my thought process on this trade here. So, yesterday, Wednesday, right, we had this buy-side liquidity sweep on this hourly chart, and this was actually, I was actually bearish going into today, and I wanted price to, we obviously rejected from here, and I wanted price to test these lows down here on ES, like at least to 4,100. I wanted price to come down. However, obviously we didn't get that, and I had to flip my bias. Keep in mind, while ES was actually down here, NQ actually swept, pretty much every single low that was down here. So keeping that in mind, ES and NQ have been diverging all week and all of last week as well. So that was kind of another piece of confluence that, we might rip up after this break of structure happened, because NQ is actually leading in liquidity. So before market open, we had this, consolidation on the 1 hour chart. We also had this fair value gap that I was watching. However, after this break of structure, I was pretty confident that we would be actually bullish. So as you guys can see here on this 1 hour chart, we actually created structure, and then hour 30 before open, we actually broke the structure. And what this did was this structure break here left this order block down here on this 1 hour chart. And we actually tapped back into it on the 1 minute chart, the 2 minute chart, and basically the smaller time frames right at open. We tapped into it and we actually got this breaks. So now let's go on the smaller time frame and see what I was looking at. So we had this was the hourly break of structure, and this was actually the order block. As you guys can see, we got into this order block and we started our move up. So in the morning, this was very choppy. ES wasn't moving much. We were just consolidating in this, what is this, like a 10-point range for a while, for like 30-40 minutes, while NQ was actually moving up. So it was kind of annoying to trade the morning, because NQ and ES were so diverted, where NQ was making really strong moves up, YM was actually red, and the ES was just consolidating. So I was just basically waiting until the divergences cleared up and the indices kind of became in sync. So I had some structure on the 5 minute chart here on ES. We had this structure here, and then we had this structure here that we created pre-market. And eventually we got the breaks on this structures, and then we just kind of started moving all the way up. Now on days like this, it's very hard to kind of get entries on plays. So what I would like to do is go on the higher time frames and kind of look for any fair value gap stuff forms, any basically any type of retracement we could get to move higher. And basically I was targeting these equal highs here on ES. Equal highs and equal lows are very good areas of liquidity, and this was actually hourly equal high. So the pull to the liquidity is actually even stronger because it's a higher time frame. And basically what I was watching is just ES pushing towards here. However, we did get the push, but it was very slow, and I kind of want to go over my entry here. So let's break it down to the 15-minute chart where I actually took my entry. I took my entry on SPX calls somewhere up here, because I was waiting for this fair value gap to actually get tapped into on this 15-minute chart. And as you guys can see, we barely tapped into this 15-minute fair value gap. I was actually looking for the CE of it, and this is where I actually alerted the ES play as well, where I was like, I will long 33 to 36 with a stop under 30 if we get this move down here. However, we did not get this move down here, and we kind of just consolidated in here in this 15-minute range, and it was pretty simple from there. I entered my SPX play here. We trimmed our contracts according to the percentages, and then I held some runners all the way until this sell side, or buy side, excuse me, got hit here. And after this buy side got hit, those contracts ran to about 6 or 7 each, and then we were all out, and obviously they closed over, I think it was about $2,000 per contract. But yeah, what I want you guys to know is that it's important to flip bias if the chart shows you something else, right? I was bearish. I had this fair value gap, I was like, we're gonna come in here and reject. However, pre-market was very important because we had this break of structure, like I mentioned, and this order block was actually bouncing, as you guys can see here. So this order block came back down, and we bounced here. We broke structure on the smaller time frames, and NQ was actually pushing up. So keeping that in mind, I had switched my bias from bearish to bullish, and then I waited for a 15-minute pullback. In this example, it was we got this fair value gap, and then we started moving back up after this, a lot of consolidation, almost for about an hour 30, before we actually made our move into this buy side liquidity area here. And someone asked me a good question. They're like, now when do we look for shorts when this happened? When we take, we got out of calls. They're like, when do we start looking for shorts? And my answer to that was, we don't need to look for shorts today, right? We could look for it tomorrow, Monday, whatever it may be, because we already caught the majority of the move that we needed to catch. We already caught this buy side liquidity move to on the 1 hour chart, right? The buy side got tagged. There's no point in looking for a short just because the buy side got taken. Now, as you guys can see from the buy side, we ripped another about 20 points. So it was not very, it's not smart to, just because sell side or buy side got taken, to actually just go for the opposite trade as soon as they get hit. There has to be some clean break of structure happening, fair value gaps rejecting, and a lot of other things for me to actually flip into a short, and especially in this kind of day. So I told the team, I was like, you know what, we're only gonna take one trade, and we got this buy side trade here, pretty easy. It did require some type of mental fortitude to hold this play, because it was very choppy at one point where price wasn't even moving. However, that's where you gotta have your trust in your system, and you take it to the areas that you marked out for your take profits. So that's pretty much the trades for the today, and I hope that helped.